Hi, this is Eric Stromquist. You are watching or listening to ControlTalk NOW, the Smart Buildings VideoCast and podcast, where we talk about all things controls. Smart controls, dumb controls, big controls, little controls, smart buildings, dumb buildings. We don't care if they got controls in them. We want to talk about it. And I do a lot of talking, but without the knowledge of my co-host and your co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, Kenny Smyers from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I'd just be a big bag of hot air. So Kenny, welcome to the show and thanks for making me credible.
Oh, thank you very much, Eric. I tell you what, I gotta recover. My cheeks are a little fireball red now because some very, very nice words there. But let's face it, we work hard together, and we track down the trends that are facing our industry. The most important things happen at us, and it's been another week of incredible, it's just nonstop. It's an avalanche of change. IoT is impacting our world from up, left, right, down. We're seeing cybersecurity coming back out in a big way. Really important revelations and documented information about what happened and what we better start doing to prevent it. We have interviews with some incredible people, namely Jenny Stentz from Johnson Controls. We just got a marvelous show. We can't cover all the posts that we have, so please visit the website and take a look at the week in review. ControlTalk NOW will have a summary there. But there's some great information to include Ken Sinclair's August edition of Automated Buildings and a great interview with Ken Sinclair. So just another great week in the control world.
Yeah, it's not a boring time in the controls industry at all, Kenny. I mean, it's changing at an extremely rapid pace. I think Ken Sinclair on a previous interview sort of said it best. We've all been, if you've been in the industry for a while, you've experienced change, right? We've experienced some pretty dramatic changes. You and I and Ken Sinclair went from the age of pneumatics to DDC, for instance. But the rate of change, how rapidly things are changing, and the different variables that are coming in, people coming in from the IoT space, it's just it's kind of hard to keep up with sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, and as we'll cover in the actual interview with Ken, I think I'm finally grappling with all the information, how IoT and as we get younger, people, the millennia age is coming upon us, and they're taking these new IoT tools and they're applying to our HVAC industry and coming up with ingenious ways to solve a lot of things. And as we'll cover in Ken Sinclair's interview, that's how the edge controller probably got invented. Was somebody 10 years ago said, one day these computers are going to be superfluous. We're not going to need these local controls. We're going to be able to put all that information into one controller, take advantage of things like smart SD cards and whatever, and have the ability to store enormous amounts of graphics, archive histories, and then have the luxury of either sending it to the cloud for aggregation and data, review and analytics, or have it smart enough that it can go from edge controller to edge controller and really make an immediate impact of very important data that's collected, and it's going to immediately impact what's going on with the HVAC right there in that building right away. So,
well, yeah, I tell you what, it looks like Ken's teed up and ready to go here. I see him on the other computer. So what do you say we just bring him on right now, Kenny?
Sounds good.
So Kenny, tell us about our next guest, big dog.
Eric, I'd love to. What we have up next is Ken Sinclair and the Automated Buildings August theme, which is low-cost, powerful hybrid edge controllers. As you all know, Ken Sinclair is the owner-editor of Automated Buildings, one of the premier sources of information about our industry. Ken, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show, Ken.
Thank you very much, guys. Pleased to be here.
All right. Well, buddy, we got August, man. August. And down here in Georgia, we try to grow things like hybrid grass and stuff like that to survive the heat. And it seems like the theme of your issue gets down to sort of hybrid edge controllers. Those sound pretty sexy. What's that all about?
Well, it appears to be that's the new revolution. That's where the power is moving out to the edge. We've got basically lower and lower process power coming from phone technology. In fact, something crossed my desk that said that we're at the situation now that there's more power in the smartphones than there is in all the servers. I thought I think that was out of Harvard research. So that was actually a pretty interesting statistic. More processing power in all of the phones than there is in all of the servers that we have. So that's an interesting thing. But how is it hitting our industry? We're actually now starting to see these new devices that look more like smartphones than they do PCs. In the past, the technology kind of looked like bits and pieces of laptops. small pieces of laptops that were the controllers in the field. But now we're starting to see devices that are built on completely different platforms where power and memory are just a whole lot cheaper. And it's going to revolutionize how things are done. And Alper and Therese have sort of pried the lid off the can, and we're all looking in there to see what's going to exactly happen. There's a bunch of things that are likely to happen. These new hybrid controllers, and I think that's part of what the hybrid part is about, is that they're able to communicate. They're designed to communicate with the cloud, and whereas our old systems were not designed, the laptop PC systems were not designed. The cloud hadn't been invented yet when they were. So we have a much smoother transition. And the other thing they have is they have the ability to access and manipulate memory at the edge. As we all know, we can all store stuff on our phone, an amazing amount of stuff. And what we're starting to see there is that we can store the complete engineering, graphics, and as you pointed out earlier, the licensing, all kinds of things can be actually stored in the edge device itself. Another thing I find interesting is that as we move to self-learning, these things are powerful enough and have enough memory that we can now self-learn at the edge and then transfer all of that information back to the cloud. So it's kind of an amazing transition. It reminds me very, very much of when I came into the DDC industry. We had these fancy little DDC controllers that could do stuff that pneumatics couldn't even imagine to do. I suspect once the kids better understand the edge controllers and try and understand better what it is we do, that we'll see a revolution much greater than the DDC revolution based on edge controllers. Did I say too much?
No, I think it's Ken. First, let's. I just want to retrace something and just go over it. You had a quote there that says, we caught that as your opening editorial remark, that my 5 decades in the building automation industry have made it crystal clear that we are always moving towards or away centralization. And I really got a kick out of that for 2 reasons. One, you don't look like you spent 5 decades in the business, and 2 is that the way things travel now are changing. And the ability to release this technology and let somebody with new sets of ideas or whatever take it and apply it to our industry is incredible, because I think that's what driven it. You mentioned that Alper was a primary, he was a candidate back in 10, 15 years ago as a young gun, and he's been in this business for a long time. He actually predicted certain things were going to happen, and here they are showing up. We're seeing all this amazing intelligence being reduced in the footprint and the form fit, and the powerful iPhone probably led the whole adoption, because people see how much you can do with an iPhone. So now we're going to see how these little edge controllers are going to remove the global controllers. They're going to be able to go both ways. You go up to the cloud and back. So congratulations on 50 years in the industry. You don't look like it. And 2, tell us a story, the background on Alper and how he kind of predicted the way this thing was going to unfold.
Well, way back in the days of Connectivity Week, we got going on a program quite similar to your Top Gun. Pardon?
Young Guns.
Young Gun. I keep getting the Young Gun program, and we called it Young Energy. And we tried to pull together the folks that were coming into the industry. And actually, Brad White was one of those gentlemen. There was about 5 or 6 of them. And Alper, we tried to call him in, and he was so busy working that he had a hard time kind of coming into the group. But he did do that, and he wrote an article about where it called The Future of Building Automation, which is an interesting thing for someone coming into the industry to do, but he did that. And he saw very much that the device would control everything would be evolved out to a device level, and you kind of follow that through. And then we we got involved in another one. We had the future and the past and the future of control languages, because the other thing we saw happening was that control languages had to span over control systems, because with smart grid and smart cities, the strategies had to exist in the cloud. And Toby Considine gave us some insight to that, basically, in an article called Clouds and Rain. And I've tried to pull some of that stuff together in basically how we got to the edge, because it's an interesting play, I think, in the fact that it has happened in the last 10 years. And we've had people telling us this is going to happen as little as 6 or 7 years ago. And all of a sudden it's happening, and some of us are surprised, but others are frustrated that it hasn't happened faster. So it's a very, very, in my mind, a very similar situation to what we had with the DDC revolution. This edge revolution, I think, is going to be as significant. Another thing, another parallel I draw, I don't know if all this history is of any value, but I find it interesting.
It is very interesting, Ken.
You have to listen to it. Okay, well, the history is in the DDC industry. What was happening is people were just getting PCs and laptops like that. And actually, ironically enough, when I started in the industry, they weren't even laptops. They were what we called luggables. And they had their luggables. And the big thing is the people touched and felt the PC technology. And so therefore, grasping what was happening with the DDC industry was easier. And the further the people were into using these new PC devices, the more able they were to make the industry grow. And of course, now we have the same situation with the smartphone industry, except everybody has a smartphone and they know how to use that. And they know how to do things with their phone that they can't do at work. And now to have sort of our controllers catch up to that kind of technology and that kind of thinking. And of course, we have this new army of millenniums coming into the industry who know nothing of laptops, PCs, desktops, those funny words. They have no idea what that means. So the whole idea of something, if it can't be done with a phone, it can't be done in their mind. So I think it's a very significant transition.
For our systems integrators and controls manufacturers and audience in general, what is the difference between a building automation control and a hybrid controller? What makes it a hybrid edge controller?
Probably just processing speed and memory and connection to the cloud. And in the article, what they're basically outlining is that there will be no global controllers. Like right now, the architecture is we have a global controller, a pretty powerful panel, which virtually, if you strip away all I/O and stuff, it basically is a laptop mounted in a panel, and it talks to a bunch of lesser panels and pulls all the information together. And what the significance of this transition is that we now have powerful devices that are extremely low cost. I think that's the other thing, is the cost of these things. Several years ago, they would have been hundreds of dollars, and now they're less than 50, less than 30, every day they keep dropping these devices that are designed to basically interact with the cloud. So what's happened is the global controllers disappear in the architecture, and basically the support is provided directly from the cloud. So it's just one layer has been peeled off, and the power has been moved out to the edge. Does that make any sense?
That's really cool. It makes perfect sense, Ken. That's why I think you do such a good service to the industry at large, is that you expound on these things and make them to make sense. And in fact, you had an analogy about how data will flow kind of the way that air flows and water flows and went from being big centralized chiller plants and big boiler plants. Now we see people going into the more multiple stages of boilers and separate units, and how chilled water even is going from a central plant to a new evolution and control. So you're saying that much in that same pattern, that's the way our data is going. So again, it can go up into the cloud if it needs to, but mostly we're changing the direction of information going to the cloud automatically as a no-fault direction. And we're saying now it's like these other things, that there might be a better way to go from centralized management to decentralized. So that was a pretty good analogy, I thought.
Yeah, that's fairly significant, I think. And actually, Alper does a great job in the article of outlining that, too, is that a lot of the complexity of our control strategies is based on our technology and the fact that what we're doing is we're passing variables from global controller to global controller, so we can actually do something, that we can actually see what the chiller's doing, or we can see what the air systems are doing. And that's not what it's all about. It's all about the system is a system. The system needs to know this information. Go out there, automatically find it with Haystack, which is the other integral piece that he's in a leading edge as well. And as you start moving into this, you start to see that the naming and meta tagging of all of this information becomes absolutely essential once you free the data. And there's some good words about that, about setting the data free inside the article as well. So yeah, it's an interesting time. I think pretty significant change.
Well, I think it is, Ken, and I based on the article, I think this might be the final nail in the coffin of the proprietary control systems. I think the owners have gotten savvy to what Open's all about, and this takes it to a whole new level. So proprietary controls are pretty much, I think, going the way of the dinosaur. And but Ken, it seems like this changes it for our systems integrators too, because the programming is going to be a little bit different. The way they program and think about programming, is that going to change at all, do you think?
Well, I think almost that's what's forcing this, although it's just sort of all happening because of the low cost of the edge controllers and the memory. The power, we didn't have the power in the field devices to do it before. But now, if you go back to the article that the endless article that we started so many years ago about the past and future of control languages, it was very clear that control languages had to be separated from the field controller, because their logic is their logic is being separated from the field controller. It's their logic is spread over smart cities, spread over smart grid, spread over. Now we're getting the whole people piece into it, spread over comfort, and so there's just a whole bunch of things happening that don't really allow you to have those rigid. It's kind of funny. I hadn't ever looked at DDC architecture as a rigid kind of thing, because it never was. It's pretty soft. You can make the architecture any way you want, but the trouble is the way you made the architecture controlled how the data flowed. And we need to shake our heads. We don't want to have any control over how the data flows. We want to basically just have these devices, collect all your data. I'll let you know what I'm going to do with it later. I may use it to increase somebody's personal comfort, or I may use it to make a city smarter, or I may use it to help out the utility company. So that's like a big step. So yes, very significant change to how control languaging will occur.
Well, Ken, do you think that a lot of this, and you were there at Realcomm IBCon several years ago, along with Kenny and Therese Sullivan and others, when sort of Intel showed up, made their big splash, and Google and Dell and Microsoft. Do you think this is sort of coming from the Silicon Valley industry getting into our space, and sort of again, a great article from the lady at Intel talking about how they are, what their version of what the smart building is, which is a lot more encompassing than just the building automation control system. So I guess the gist of the question is, how is Silicon Valley influencing how we do controls, and it almost seems like they're defining what the smart building looks like, and it as systems integrators and controls professionals, it seems like we're going to have to adopt to that standard, because it seems like they are eclipsing us with what a smart building is and should be.
I don't quite see it that same way, and actually even the title of the Intel interview kind of suggests that. I think, first of all, I was there when Intel introduced, and I think they have greatly matured from their introduction, and I think they have a better grasp of how this is all going to be done now. And the building blocks approach is probably a great approach for them, because that's basically the business they're in. Intel is in a difficult situation because they, of course, have made chips for laptops and PCs. That's been their prime business, and we both just said that we're seeing basically the end of that era, and basically the move to the smartphone era and to lower cost chips. And I keep saying the smartphone, but of course we're talking about devices that look like, are you running Sedona or running Raspberry, or some of these other new platforms for sure. So I mean, that's what they're competing against. Is they've got a traditional way of doing things, and all of a sudden some of these edge controllers are looking anything but traditional, and they keep coming up daily, new devices, and the price keeps dropping and the power keeps increasing. So you can see they've got their work cut out for them. But anyway, I do applaud their building block approach, because that they basically have moved a lot of this down into a chip level, which I think is fairly significant. And they did a real good showing at IBCon this year, working with several companies. Comfy is one of them. And
let's talk about Comfy real quick, Ken. I don't mean to sidetrack you, but Comfy is a very interesting phenomenon to me. For our listeners who might not know, and by the way, we're talking about stuff that's in Ken Sinclair's August issue of AutomatedBuildings.com. So if you haven't checked that out yet, go check it out, because some fantastic articles. But Comfy, for our listeners who don't know, they take the smartphone and they basically, I'm probably oversimplifying, but it overlays with your automation system. And you're basically, if you're too hot, you hit the button, I'm too hot. If you're too cold, I'm too cold. And it'll give you 10 minutes of relief one way or another. And one of the things, Ken, I think they're finding is when you give the controls to the tenants, that they're using less energy. So it's like once you give them the control, they don't seem to use as much. I mean, that's sort of it in a nutshell. But that's, again, I think what I'm saying in terms of how Silicon Valley and those ideas are sort of defining what a smart building is now in terms of features that you can add on top of the basic building automation controls.
Well, I think the Comfy concept was basically, they assumed that we were further evolved as a building automation industry than we were. And so when they hit us, it's like they ran into this exact problem we're talking about, is that our architectures control our data flow. And they kind of did a double blink, is just a minute. Like, data's data, right? Because we're from the IT industry. And it's like, oh, well, not in our industry. We put it in little bins over here and little bins over there. And then we rock it up with proprietary bits. And so all of a sudden we create our own little monster. And so as we start to move more to the edge controllers and having more power out there, then this all becomes a little more easy to make happen. And so anyway, I think that they along with a whole bunch of other people are forcing evolution to occur a lot quicker than we as an industry would, which is good. I think it's got to be exciting for folks like you that are in the supplying of products, and people like the systems integrators who finally have been working several years to get a pattern to build it the way they used to build it, and now all of a sudden it's like we're not going to do it that way anymore. So it's going to be pretty frustrating.
Well, it's so interesting that, and you said the evolution of smart building, and I think we just defined one of the ways it's evolving is because you have Intel come in. At first, they came in kind of like you said, company experienced it too. We weren't ready for what they had. They were looking for IT handshakes, and we were giving them protocol handshakes. But what is really cool about this is on this Intel article, they talk about some of their products, and one of them is this new hot desking and hoteling, which means now these smart buildings have to be prepared for a new concept, a new millennial approach towards work weeks and work days and work spaces, so that you have to create the ability to accommodate this multiple people using the same desk on different days. So it has to be almost like a hotel. Keep it cleaner than when you arrived or whatever. But now Intel is making that possible using Comfy, because Comfy, basically, the way I see it, and Lindsay Baker does an extraordinary job in some of these interviews. We had an interview with Josh Bradshaw last week. But the humans are the sensors. So what could be a better way to zone or to know the locations of people within a zone, which zones are occupied, which zones are unhappy, than to tie the zone directly down to the person who becomes the sensor. And as that sensor, happier set.
Yeah, and the hot spotting is they're following your iPhone around or your smartphone, right? So it knows where you are. Right. So
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, and then you got the second thing that they did was Intel comes up with a reference for intelligent vending. So inside that smart building now, everything is going to get a little smarter. So that instead of and it's all and what's really cool, what you said, Ken, is we're all instead of utilizing our own little data pockets and putting things in cubby holes and not letting this information be absorbed, and then whether it can be used later is another story. It probably will be, but now that you can integrate your vending machines into your building management system, and it's all just data, and once you have that data, then these brilliant people that have these IoT solutions are going to say, if you have that data there, here's another way we can save money, improve efficiency, reduce the carbon footprint, and make the tenants happier. So I think that's the evolution of the smart building.
The other evolution that's on top of the evolution is self-learning. Basically, quickly you understand as we move to this model where we have data everywhere unstructured, then the next thing you need machines to learn it, because we can't learn it. As we both mentioned before the interview, we're caught in the blizzard of information that comes across our desk every day, and we're trying to make sense of all of that. But and it gets worse in a building where we have a gazillion sensors, and now we have samplings, and so we have terabytes of information that we need to do something with. And the only way that can, in fact, be effectively dealt with is by machines set with a task to go and learn about a particular comfort issue, a particular smart city issue, a particular smart grid issue. So we're now starting to see that next evolution falling on top of this. This is just all infrastructure, basically taking the hybrid edge controllers, taking these low-cost controllers, pushing them out to the edge, starting with rudimentary learning, so they can quickly make decisions. But for optimized and global type logic, they're going to have to interface with the cloud. When in fact those things are required, that's not going to be able to be done by somebody trying to find 10,000 points. It's got to be done by a self-discovery method. So the whole self-learning piece is evolving as well. And everybody who is into the edge is into self-learning. And the ability, the cost and the amount of power you can put at the edge, and how it can in fact learn and become a better edge device is basically the struggle that everybody's trying to get to now. And of course, it's not just what it's done too, is it's kind of separated us where we've always been in our little isolated industry. The problem that's been presented and the solutions that are being provided are not completely tied to our industry. They're tied to the IT industry.
Yeah, big time, Ken. And listen, for our VideoCast viewers out there, your screen is not frozen. We do look like an episode of Frozen right now. Ken Sinclair and Ken Smyers are both coming through audio-wise, but you guys are striking a pose here, just so you know. So you guys look great. But let's sort of begin to wrap it up. Ken,
I'm going to move. I did it. Moved again.
But I think you're right. And I think, things like PoE, that are being introduced from the IoT side are, going to revolutionize how we do things. You've already talked about the digital ceiling, how that's going to change the way smart building controls come in. So we're going to see the changes. I kind of wanted to follow up, Ken, with one last question. Another article you had was the $300 rule that, now is being proposed to be more like an 80 rule, 800 rule. And I think this new technology is making that possible. Could you explain to our audience real quick, what the $300 rule is and why that is sort of relevant to people in our industry?
Okay, well, we've always been chasing energy to basically justify everything we do. The whole justification of our systems that are in the building, our automated systems, was based on how much energy we can save. And so the general rule is we spend about $3 a square foot. We don't want to haggle about these numbers, but they're just for demonstration purposes. $3 a square foot for utilities. We spend about $30 for the rent of the building and maintenance and stuff like that. But we spend about $300 for the folks that come to work in that building. And if we can move our focus from just energy to things that actually start to affect the lease space, but even more start to affect the people in the space. There's another phenomena which may be leading to the 800 number too, is we have this situation because of hoteling that we're getting more and more people operating out of the same building because they're sharing it. Like, just imagine that if let's say that the folks are there 20% of the time, which is not an unusual number. We obviously have 5 times the salary content attached to the same square footage. So all of a sudden that number is just skyrocketing. And if we can create that seamless relationship between their other environments and their hoteling environment, there's great value in that. We need to learn how to do that better as an industry. We've typically always been in the industry of actually doing what people ask us to do, and I think we have to start moving more into the lead of showing people what it is we can do.
Well, Ken, I don't know if you saw it, but we had a post on August 1st on Controltrends about it was an open letter from the news editor-in-chief, Kyle Gargario from HVACR, explaining the benefits of an HVAC career to recent high school graduates. And it was a really good job. It was a really hard-punching 3-minute video on the benefits. If you're not afraid to get your hands dirty and you're not afraid to spend some time learning the process, it's a very lucrative career. So what do you have? What's new on your tablet as far as developing education for getting more people into our industry?
I thought you'd never ask that question. I've been waiting for a while for that. But we're doing a lot. We've been working with the local technical college, BCIT, and they're going to have a course coming out. I've just tweeted it. I actually just did a LinkedIn pulse on it as well, and given you connection to it. I encourage everybody in our industry to get involved in education and work with the community colleges. A lot of this stuff has to be learned on the fly, and if we can get it into online courses, I think that's what we need to do. The second thing I wanted to point out is in my head right now, we're trying to put together our education session for AHR Las Vegas, and I assume you guys are going to be there with bells on, and Controltrends Awards is going to be there, and it's going to be amazing. But so we're trying to put together an education 4 sessions like we usually do. And it's interesting in light of everything that's happening here. We need to change. We need to brighten it up, and it's a challenge to try and do that. But we have to keep on doing what we can and make education top drawer, top priority for us all.
Agreed.
Well said, Ken. Yeah, we are looking forward to seeing you at the Controltrends Awards, buddy, because, we got another Hall of Fame induction to do. And so for all you people out there wondering if you're going to be in the Hall or not, you'll just have to come to Vegas and find out. There are worse things in life, right, Ken, than having to come to Vegas to find out whether you're going to be put in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, there you go.
That's Ken Sinclair, automatedbuildings.com. The August issue is out. Go check it out for sure. Ken, thanks so much as always. Your insights are invaluable.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
You bet. Thank you.
Guys
Thanks a lot, Ken.
All right, Ken. Great stuff from Ken Sinclair. And man, I tell you what, sort of talking about on the edge, you and I met Dave Lorenzini about 3 years ago at Realcomm Ibicon, 3 or 4 years ago at Ibicon Realcomm. And Dave, for our listeners who might not know, is the guy who actually invented Google Glasses. And ever since Kenny and I have seen those glasses, two things have happened. We have begged Google to send us glasses because, we're swag whores, and we would totally wear the Google glasses on the air. And secondly, Kenny and I have been calling that smart glasses are going to be the way that service companies and systems integrators are going to be able to sort of leverage their capacities, because you can put the best guy you got back at home base on a laptop with several screens. You can put the techs out in the field, and that guy can be seeing what they're seeing and telling them what to do. And Kenny, that has become a reality. So tell us a bit about that post that we had on Controltrends this week.
Love to. We had wearable technology was a trend that we picked up in 2014, and we were fortunate to meet Dave Lorenzini. As you said, he was back when he first did the GPS and brought in Earth mapping and stuff. He was actually one of the techies, one of the smart guys from Silicon Valley that worked that into the smart glass technology. So we saw wearable technology take off in the oil and gas, big industry way out there in deserts all over the world, or wherever they dig oil or drill for oil. They used smart technology, wearable technology. And then in the medical world, we saw how doctors were sharing, their incredible talents using wearable technology. For the surgeon that was actually doing the operation, he had the benefit of colleagues commenting and telling him, making suggestions on where to make incisions and what to remove and what was bad and what was good. So it was really cool. But we said one day this is going to really impact our industry. And then we see Tennessee's lead company technicians using smart glass to receive remote support. And we're talking, these guys got this thing down to a science. These are people have implemented this thing, one of the largest implementations, over 500 pairs of smart glasses. They're in the field, one of the largest innovative wearable technology rollouts. But I watched the video because it's on Controltrends, but these guys have really made this come to play. So you're right. We had seen that you can't get enough intelligent, competent, skilled, experienced technicians to be everywhere at once. But now maybe you can if you take advantage of this wearable technology.
No, I completely agree, Kenny. I think it's just something else to come. I mean, we talk about wearable technologies. If you heard our interview last week for Josh Bradshaw from Silicon Valley, he's sort of an expert on wearable technology. Heck, he has got 2 different smart watches and all kinds of stuff. I think he's even got a smart bow tie. But that is just something that you like it or not, it's here to stay, and cool stuff. And I think the innovative companies are going to find ways to use that. And hats off to Lead Company. If you're from Lead Company, we'd love to talk to you about this. So hopefully we can get those guys to come on the Smart Buildings Videocast and podcast and sort of give us a little bit more information about it.
Right. I tell you, I can always see it happening. We were talking about implementation times with Ken Sinclair about how, people saw this coming, but they thought it would take a while, 10 years or whatever. But we're seeing it happening in 3, 4, 5 years. So the implementation time and adoption time is getting thinner and thinner and shorter. And then the impact is immediate. So it's like anything else. Once you get your first taste of this stuff, you begin to expect it, as a solution. And as there's more and more manufacturers of this wearable technology and smart glasses, now I think I saw 6 major competing firms that are putting smart wearable technology out there for us to get into. And we have some exciting things that hopefully will unfold positively. But this is not going away. It's going to become the way we're going to deal with our shortages of technicians. And, we have another post coming up that we're going to talk about more in depth, how we are in a double-digit growth industry, and yet we are already starving for qualified people. And we have, in the year 2022, there's an estimated 60% of the existing technicians, installers, field support people, customer support people, sales engineers, everybody in our industry, about 60% of them are scheduled to retire, according to a study in the year 2022.
Well, I tell you what, and I think it sort of goes hand in glove. And as if you watch the show or listen to the podcast, Kenny and I are big advocates of this industry. I mean, if you're a young person looking for something to do where you can make a true difference, have flexibility, there's nothing better than building automation controls. I mean, you'd have a direct impact on the carbon footprint. It's an exciting career. And I think, our guy Kyle here in this article sort of lays it out for high school graduates. I mean, why spend, $100,000 a year to go get drunk and get thrown in jail when you can get paid and do the same thing, right? And not get student debts, but get trained where you can do something and make a difference.
Not everybody did what you did in college. Now, come on. I mean, we've got people out there that, they're there for good reason. But as you said, Kyle Gargaro, who's the editor-in-chief of HVACR Publications, which is a great publications in its own right. But we see a sign right there, if you can see the video to my left, where the young college grads in debt. She's everybody liked that one candidate from the Democratic side. He was going to remove all these in debt people, these students, and give them second chance on getting financial stability. But so he writes this Kyle Gargaro explains in very simple terms that the HVAC industry is offering a major solution. Now, he was saying too that the college guidance counselors in high school and career counselors they don't want to see you go to a tech school or come out and get a job right away as a technician, immediately generating income, immediately generating a career, the foundation for a career. They want to sell you a 4-year ticket.
Dude, Johnny Manziel's showing up on your screen there. They saying Johnny Manziel might have been okay if he become an HVAC tech, right?
Well, that's a fact. Everybody knows it. But this is Kyle, and this is his video. It's 3 minutes and 15 seconds long. I'll tell you what, it's dynamite. It holds no punches. It punches real hard, and he talks, a very, very straightforward presentation that while our industry is experiencing a 21% increase in HVACR mechanic and installer jobs are needed, we're not getting any of the good candidates. They all want to go into some business management, marketing, or whatever, which obviously, if you've got a true calling for that field, then go. If you want to be a surgeon, please don't let us interrupt you. This is for people that are on the fence, that don't really have a career aspiration yet. And if they were given a good idea at the right time and given some encouragement, this might be the nudging point to get them to try it. And then if you try it, you don't like it, like anything else. But he's saying the average technician that's certified starts out at $49,000. If you get your trade certifications or you get your whatever, where a college student goes into 4 years of college and comes out with certain debt. And that's why Bernie Sanders was such a big attractive solution for these people, because it's not just a couple. We're talking hundreds of thousands of kids that are in the same boat. So what we're seeing is if you can deal with a little bit of discomfort, a little bit challenging physically, you've got an opportunity to make a significant amount of money while you're learning and creating experience. And once you get that to a certain level and you start getting IoT involved and you start seeing what you can do with computers and what you can do with smart devices, it's not just a man's calling. Females are very much welcome. And as we posted 3 weeks ago, women are making the impact. So if there's a shortage of a career field that was predominantly male, we're going to see that there's going to be cybernetics. Something's going to come in and fill that void. Nature hates a vacuum, and if there's not enough males going into this career field, the females will start to migrate into it, and I'm sure that they're very capable and competent. So great opportunity, but this is a very good video presentation because it just drops the bomb and lets everybody experience a reality check. So
well, Kenny, I couldn't agree with you more, and I tell you what, I mean, Let's just go ahead and hit you with a double bomb right now, because you should definitely listen to what Kyle has to say. But then if you want to know what kind of companies you can work for, and what kind of people you can work with, Jenny Stentz stopped by from Johnson Controls. Johnson Controls is one of the great companies in our industry. And if you want to know the kind of people in our industry, I got a chance to record the interview, Kenny. So I tell you what, let's take a listen to what Jenny had to say, and we'll talk about it on the flip side. But check this out. Hi, Eric Stromquist here with Controltrends. I have a very special guest today. In-house, we have Jenny Stentz, and Jenny is the Vice President, General Manager of Controls and all products related to energy efficiency. Did I get that right?
All products and all distribution for building efficiency.
Right, and we're a distributor, which is why I got this cool Johnson
shirt. I love
shirt.
that shirt.
It's a great shirt.
It's a great shirt. And it makes you look so thin.
Thank you, because I thought it was making me look fat. It makes Rob Allen look fat when he has to wear it, but it does look good on me, doesn't it? So, all kidding aside, I met Jenny. I met you about a month ago. We took a customer up to your product showcase. And first of all, let me just say, what great hospitality. For our listeners and viewers out there, if you ever get a chance to go to Johnson Controls, visit their showcase, you want to do it. So if you're a consulting engineer, if you're an integrator, if you're an end user, reach out to your local Johnson Controls distributor. Tell them you want to go to Milwaukee.
Yeah, that was such a fun visit. It really was. And I want to thank you because you came and you brought some customers, and it was a great opportunity for all of us to get out of the office, which is so hard to do, and have a little fun, go to a ball game, have some time to be able to just talk, get to know each other. But it's really fun to get into our showcase and be able to see all that we offer. People tell us all the time, particularly as we've grown so much in the last couple of years, they have no idea all of the things that we do within building efficiency at Johnson Controls. But then separate from that, being able to kind of put your hands on different types of equipment that we have, being able to test and see demos of things that are coming out over the next couple of years, and even get your feedback on some of the investments that we're making and be able to shape where we're heading with some of those.
Well, it was fantastic, and our customers kept going, who knew? Who knew that Johnson had all these other product offerings? I want to get to those in a minute.
Yeah.
But you guys have got the checkbook out and been doing some serious acquisitions that I think are going to sort of revolutionize the way the building automation control bundle and HVAC control bundle goes. So we'll get to that in a minute. But state-of-the-art facility. It was just really cool. You guys got the boards and you could slide the stuff around. But if you ever want to see the products, and just what JC said, it's a great way to do it. And the one thing I'll say again is that you guys really know how to show hospitality. And I think that's really pervading in what it's like to do business with Johnson Controls these days. It's more like a partnership than a vendor customer relationship. You guys seem to have values of really, well, what impressed me about you guys is it's not just about the products. You guys are really genuinely, how can we help you be more profitable? So you really listen a lot. And so speak about that, because it seems like a philosophical. Is that delivered, or is that just you?
No, there's been a change. We've actually realigned our sales force to be focused on our distinct channels. We've got our branch channel, which is great for many customers that want to buy that way. But as you know, we've got distributors, and as we work through, you've got different needs in the way that you bring value to your customers. And so we understand that. So we've realigned our sales force to be very, very focused around a specific channel so that they can go deep in understanding how we bring more value, not only to you, but to your end customers as well. I think that's helped us to listen a whole lot more and to be able to bring initiatives and strategies that allow for your business to grow. Just as we've been doing today, having an account management meeting to talk about the progress that we've made, the things that we outlined to grow, and how we're doing against those. I think it's really been a great testament for being able to align how we best help you in the marketplace. Like you said, not just with products, but with all of the other things that we can provide to help us win together.
Right, because at the end of the day, the market, we're all competitive. We're all trying to grow our businesses. But it really has a feel that you guys are, hey, we're partners. Let's put our heads together. Let's figure out how we can do this. And along those lines, I mean, the Johnson Business Conference is coming up.
Yep.
Nashville, Tennessee.
Looking forward to it.
If you haven't been to the Johnson Conference, that's something else. It's kind of a must sort of do deal. But I tell you what I love about those conferences is, there's a big product showcase where you guys show off the products. There's a lot of technical stuff. But you really sort of delve into and bring speakers in that are going to help me as a business person be more profitable.
Yeah, this will be a fun conference. I mean, Nashville is a great place. If you haven't been there, we've got some incredible activities outlined that are going to be a lot of fun. In addition to that, though, there's some great value-added, business-oriented type programs. I mean, we're there to talk about lots of things. I think you were there last year, and we all are talking about how do we win with the millennials? How are we able to recruit, retain, and get them to stay within our organizations? But we've got a great lineup of business-related topics that are all really focused on how to help you be more successful leading your teams. In addition to that, what I'm also excited about is we're going to make a pretty big splash around some new developments as well as some new launches. And we're going to use the CBC as a great opportunity to tell the story, but also really be able to showcase some of the stuff we've been doing behind the scenes.
Well, I know a little bit of the stuff you've been doing. The JCI is on the move, and you got some great stuff coming out. But I will forewarn you, if you don't want the truth about the realities of business, then you got to be prepared. I was really disappointed to find out that I'm not a millennial.
No.
But what was kind of cool about it was, and I just want to talk about it as an example, we learned so much at that conference about how millennials think, how to motivate them, how to recruit them, how to get them on your side. And, you'd have to pay an outside business consultant to come in and do something like that. But it's things like that at the conference.
Well, that's exactly what we do. We get the type of speakers and presenters that would be almost impossible for a small business to afford on their own. Yeah. And we're able to congregate many businesses together and put the investment up so that you can still have that experience. You can still learn from some of the best around the world.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the businesses because, like you say, who knew? So tell our listeners about some of the other companies that you guys own or have bought or are going to buy and how you sort of see that rolling in to the overall landscape of smart building controls.
Yeah, this has been a really fun couple of years. I feel like we've been moving at warp speed. And, honestly, from the strategy that our CEO laid out to really shift the portfolio of Johnson Controls to be viewed as a multi-industrial company, we have been absolutely realizing that vision every day over the last couple of years. It starts with the acquisition that we made with ADTI. So essentially overnight we purchased and exploded of a company, going from a company of being few brands, few channels to a company of being many brands and many channels, looking at everything that we've acquired from, really looking at the air side, at air systems distribution, grills, registers, diffusers, and fans and filters, along with, really being the industry leader when it comes to fan coil units, VAV boxes, and everything that we're doing in air handling units. You think about that and you think about where controls comes to play, and it's all about creating solutions, creating smart equipment, smart devices, and being able to have all of those distinct pieces and parts fit together. I mean, who would have thought you could have a smart grill and a smart diffuser? I mean, what the heck would that be, right? But we're able to really drive, I think, to the next level of innovation and how to actually drive more simplicity to the end users to achieve what they want and balance that comfort along with efficiency by bringing it all together. It's been a lot of fun for us to be able to not only understand from having many different reps and distributors that may have one distinct product saying, hey, here's some feedback from the marketplace. I think the amount of feedback we've gotten by exploding into some of these other markets has been tremendous. That ties right back to controls and helps us really view that differently in the way that we're going to approach it.
Well, right. And I think having those perspectives from some of these companies you've acquired, because everybody's trying to get their arms around the Internet of Things and how we can use data, how we can make our buildings smarter and more efficient, and everybody has a little bit different take on it. So I think you guys are getting a unique perspective by these different companies you're acquiring. And then also I think that what it really boils down to at the end of the day is you really giving your customers a lot of choices.
I think it does come down to a lot of choices. And you mentioned the Internet of Things. I go back to the multi-industrial portfolio. I mean, honestly, we've separated now, and you'll see the official close the automotive business. So as we're exiting the automotive business in full by spinning that off into a distinct separate company, you now see Johnson Controls is clearly in the building space and the energy storage space. So we've always made batteries for cars, but now getting into batteries for building, distributed energy storage. And clearly there's a great connection to how do you control that to maximize the value for your building, right? And that's just a whole nother world that opens up. When we talk about the Internet of Things, many of you are aware of the acquisition that we're in progress, and we've got a close coming in early September with
Tyco.
It is right in the sweet spot of how we actualize the Internet of Things into real clear solutions, right? What does that look like to have an integrated building management system? For years, it's funny because we think we own the building management system in HVAC, but if you go into the security world, they have a building management system, and goodness, lighting has a building management system, and so does fire. So does the fire and life safety world. So I think this is really going to help us to rethink the right level of what is an integration and how does all of this need to operate, and ultimately, what is the value for the end customer in the end? Do they want all of those integrations? What makes sense and what doesn't? And more importantly, how do you drive the cost of all of that down?
Right. No, I got you. I want to cycle back to something because you've been around the industry for a while, and you mentioned the battery division. And here's something that's sort of fascinating me is, I've got a Tesla, and, Tesla had what they call a power wall. Right.
Yes.
And so you start talking about your expertise with the batteries, because I can totally see, like Elon Musk said in a post we had on Controltrends, the sun is the ultimate energy source. Right. It's always there. And you guys seem like if that really takes off at a big level, you guys are right in the sweet spot to capitalize on that too, right?
We are. We are actually sit on the board of our newly launched, and we launched in October, our distributed energy storage business. So we are actively, and it sits right in the middle between those two businesses. We're the largest battery maker in the world. Think about that. And then we're the largest building controls provider in the world. So you match those two together, right? And there's a lot of value to really how to optimize that for the building owner. So whether you want to participate in, demand response, whether you want to better manage that, whether you have intermittency issues. And the battery can solve a lot of issues for building owners all around the world, particularly here in the U.S. We're definitely seeing the market evolve. I think that, what we've seen so far is it's moving faster than anyone had actually anticipated.
Well, it's just fascinating. We were interviewing somebody last weekend, and we were talking about the whole concept of blockchain. And it came to with Bitcoin, right? And this person was going, Therese Sullivan from Building Contacts Me was going, well, what she could see with like the batteries and the storage that the power companies you might be using blockchains as a way to do transactions to do energy back and forth. So your building is now, you've got a bunch of extra capacity, and then my building needs some. So now you're selling me some, and we're using the whole bit.
So this is an interesting concept. I think this takes us to a point where there was a lot of focus around the microgrid controller.
Right.
That's great, and there's a place for that, but your building needs to be microgrid enabled, right?
Yes.
And it's the technologies inside the building and how they operate that actually help you achieve that. So it is clearly an opportunity for us to leverage all of the types of renewables and controls technology, efficiency technology, battery storage in terms of when you look at, how solvent are you, how protected are you with an intermittency, with a down, power, all the things that could happen to you. And so you think about your sustainability plan and you think about what you have in place. Is your building ready for that, right?
Yes.
And it's not just having each one distinct. It's having it connected together so that your building is smart enough to know when to leverage those technologies at the right point in time. But being able to leverage solar, store it, and use it when you need it, man, that's going to turn on a whole new level of opportunities.
Well, it is. And I think there are a lot of people that know how to connect different things together. But I'm not sure there are a lot of people who know what to connect together.
Right.
And it seems like you guys got the know-how, plus you got the what. Because that battery technology, I think, is really going to take off. This is exciting stuff.
It is exciting stuff.
So what else you got for us here on Controltrends, our exclusive interview with Jenny Stentz from JCI?
We'll be launching a lot of things. You talked a little bit in the beginning about the ease of doing business. This is a big theme for us right now. A lot of our investments are going into how do we especially now that we do so many different things, how do we make it easier rather than more complicated for a customer to navigate with Johnson Controls? We'll actually be releasing and launching our first of many selection tools that'll all go through one common portal. We already have our customer portal up, but we're actually launching our selection tools for our independent distributors and contractors as it relates to controls. We're really excited about this. That'll be connected to order management tools all the way through warranty processes. So we've got a pretty big vision here along the ease of doing business suite that really takes the pain of customers having to figure out where do they go to get it. You've got lots of choices now. You can go to the branch, you can go to a distributor, you can go to a contractor that represents.
Stromquist.
You can go to Stromquist, but everybody go to Stromquist, right? So you've got those options. And now what's important is that the actual process of doing that is the best in class, that you get that seamless experience that makes it easy.
Hey, now, Jenny, speaking of, reducing the cost of business, our systems integrators use the FX Asset tool. I mean, it's just a great example of how you guys think to have people be more competitive with your product. The FX Asset tool, if you haven't used it, is a piece of software that Johnson's got that allows you to basically select your products, program them, design them, create your order, your submittal data all in one package. It really drives the cost out of engineering, programming, and ordering the job.
Well, we're extending that. We're finding all kinds of ways that we can help you, whether it's helping with the engineering, whether it's the loyalty points. I mean, we're continuing to build out our suite of tools that make it more affordable, easy to access, all the types of things that you want to do to speed your business up. Yeah. One other thing you had mentioned, what else do we have out there? I think it's important, to kind of note that we've always really, managed to spend a lot of effort and attention and investment into buildings with complex HVAC systems. And we've always really prided ourselves on building out the building management system. I think one thing that we've learned through the years, particularly with the acquisitions, is we need to make products that really extend to all types of building owners. And you're going to continue to see products come out of Johnson Controls that really fit contractors that are working all the way from the light commercial, mid-market, all the way through the complex space. Really being able to diversify the product and the portfolio of the types of solutions we can bring to different customers, right? At different cost points, and then enable them to do really cool things, by connecting back to the cloud and enabling services that let them move faster with better diagnostics and better support, for their buildings.
Well, because I got to tell you, there's been one sort of criticism of your product portfolio.
Yep.
Is you have not had an entry into what Kenny and I call the race to the small space, which is the smaller buildings that maybe can't afford a full-blown system, and there are a ton of them out there.
That's right.
So are you here today on Controltrends telling us that Johnson Controls is throwing the gauntlet down, that you guys are getting into the race to the small space?
We are. And if you come to the CBC in Nashville, you will see it. We'll be launching a controller that I think people are going to be really excited about, and a smart hub that enables very, very simple selection tools and startup. It's going to be awesome.
I can't wait to see that. Actually, I already have seen it. It's really cool. So,
well, you came to the showcase, right? Come to the showcase and you'll be able to see a lot of these things before they launch.
And you'll be in the know. Well, listen, the other thing about Johnson Controls, if you're not aware, they are social. You got a cool Johnson Controls community online, so I encourage you to check that out. And you'll hear more about that, I'm sure, at the CBC.
Absolutely. And that one portal is going to be the center, and everything that we're building in this suite of tools will be accessible through the portal. It's the toughest part is having to log on to all of these different systems, remember your passwords with each one of them, and then figure out what you want to do once you finally get in, right? So that I think is a great point. The community, the portal allows you to connect with people just like you all over the world, ask questions, get quick responses. All of our product managers, by the way, are on there all the time. Yeah. So they're very quick to respond when you need something.
You guys rock rolling. And last but not least, I'd be remiss if I did not thank you guys. Johnson Controls once again is a platinum sponsor for the Controltrends Awards, which will be happening 2017. It'll be the 2016 Controltrends Awards Sunday night before AHR in Las Vegas. So Jenny, thanks so much for that. You guys have always stepped up to the plate and do a great job. And Chris Eichmann, Chris Lane, Greg Wilmer, they've all won awards. The Johnson product you've been vendor of the year a couple of times. So, hey, if you like what you see with Jenny, vote for JCI because the nomination period is coming out. So with that, Jenny, since you got to do one more favor for me, you got to say hi to the man, the myth, the legend. Ken Smarts, go, hi, man, myth, the legend. Go, hi, Kenny.
Hi, myth, the man, the legend. Hi, Kenny.
There we go. That's Jenny Stentz from Johnson Controls. Jenny, thanks so much.
Thanks, Eric. Take care.
You too.
Hey, so Kenny, man, I'm so sorry you weren't in Atlanta for that interview, man. Jenny just rocks. And, we met her, as you heard from the interview, we took some clients up to JCI, and Jenny stopped in, spent a lot of time with, our clients, made quite an impression. JCI really knows how to roll the red carpet out for your clients. So if you're a distributor or user, an engineer, an architect, or an integrator. Reach out to your local Johnson Controls distributor. Say you want to go to JCI, you want to see Jenny. But dude, what do you think of that? What were some of the takeaways you got?
Well, it's
from
one
that?
of the few. It's one of the few times I was jealous that I wasn't there because I tell you what, I love that kind of a charisma, that kind of a can-do spirit, that kind of a positive charge. Like you always say, we're gloom and doom too much, but there's a lot of really elevating, interesting, innovative changes coming. Johnson Controls is leading the way. I know that they've got a fabulous product showcase. I've seen some of that, but we're talking about a new paradigm in manufacturing where a major manufacturer, the world's largest battery maker, the world's largest HVAC. As she put it, it's the world's largest battery manufacturer or makers in the world's largest building controls provider in the world. And when they start making changes, it's time to listen. And we're seeing an incredible, industry evolve right in front of our eyes. And it's the distributed energy storage. Why Johnson Controls is taking such a serious, in-depth approach, making major investments, committing millions of dollars. And not only are they trying to solidify their channels. This woman is doing a great job. She is in charge of all products and all distribution. And her ideas were this partnership versus vendors, just all the good stuff you want to hear, and how it's about recruiting, retaining, and winning with millennials. I mean, I can't wait. I hope I get to go to that Johnson business conference there in Nashville, Tennessee that's coming up. But I just got such an enormous charge on how Johnson Controls is taking a leadership role in our futures. And if you're in the distribution channel or the contracting channel, this is where you want to start putting some chips in. You want to get to know Johnson's product line. You want to get to see how they're going to integrate the whole air side of a building, because they've got it all. They've got acquisitions that are coming together, bringing the synergy that's going to be it's going to be such a convincing synergy, because a building owner wants to eliminate duplicities. We're seeing DC voltage coming in. Jim Sinopoli wrote a great article about the DC current wars, the AC/DC current wars again, and how DC now is coming into the building. And we're seeing how solar technology can create, sun is a universal and just a free power source. So imagine taking the solar you're collecting, putting it into batteries and storage. And I tell you what, and then
having your own little microgrid. Dude, I tell you, it's all coming together. We've talked about this. The pieces are starting to click, because we talked several weeks ago with Therese Sullivan about blockchain and Bitcoin, and then the Tesla Powerwall with the battery, where you can store the power, and then you'll be able to sell it using blockchain or Bitcoin, right? So I think JCI is the only person I know right now. They have that battery technology. So imagine being able to go, like you say, to a building, put the solar stuff up, collect the solar, and then now you're building, instead of being a net zero building, you could become an energy producer, right, out of that. I mean, I don't know whether that'll happen anytime soon, but JCI's at least got, the pieces to put that puzzle together, huh?
Well, I mean, I don't know where I've been. I mean, we try to keep track of trends, and we do, and I think we do as well as anybody, in this business. But there's a couple of summary things about the IoT and the acquisitions, how they're putting together. Jenny made some really important statements, like IoT, the impact, but HVAC says we know how to do building management. Security says we got our version of it. Lighting says, we also do building management, and fire life safety does it. But Johnson provides the really true integration to give the greatest value to the end users, the end customers, because they're driving the costs down. So, but the evolving markets are moving faster than they expected, about the building and the microgrid. Well, this is an opportunity for optimization, but Jenny asks, how solvent and how protected are you as a company, as a business? Can you afford to lose power? And so she's saying, but if you want to be a microgrid component, then you better be microgrid ready, and that's what's going to be. So you got to put sustainability in place in your building, connect it all together so you can leverage solar. You can store it and then use it when you need it. And then, like you said, you can offload it. If you have an abundance of energy, and you can, and now with your blockchain, you can actually start to sell it. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. So it's really good to see that kind of, very high level executive insight into our industry, because now we can change. We can get rid of this and start taking some of this.
Well, and I think she's got a real understanding of the acquisitions that they're making. I think they're really putting together, like you say, a complete offering. And I tell you what, the conference, Jenny will be at the conference, as everybody else will be. So listen, if you haven't been introduced to Johnson Controls yet, again, reach out to your local Johnson Controls distributor. They'd be glad to give you the information. We'll post the information on the Johnson summit that's coming up. Kenny and I've been to those. Like I said in the interview with Jenny, one of the things that Johnson does really well is when you go to one of those conferences, they have an amazing product show. You'll learn everything you know about their product show, but this is really not so much about them as it is about how they can make you more successful in business. So great speakers there. Definitely check that out. And Jenny, we haven't heard the last from Jenny yet, Kenny. She travels all the time, but guess what? She lives in Atlanta, so hopefully next time you'll get to be on that interview too. But Jenny, thanks a lot for that thanks a lot for Jenny. So Jenny, thanks a lot for that. And Kenny, we got to get rocking and rolling, buddy. We got a couple more posts I definitely want to touch on this week. And anything else you want to say about JCI before we hop on? Oh, by the way, you did catch it. They're coming out with an entry to the race to the small space. I've seen it. I think it's going to just change the game completely. So,
well, Eric, one last thing I just wanted to say is that we have the data sheet on the L1000 in-building distributed energy storage system. And if you don't know the background, or if this is your first or second opportunity to actually delve deeper into it, go onto the website, see how there's already a product that's going to start doing what we just talked about. They've already got this is ready for sale. It is through they have the feature benefit, the economic value, short-term energy backup, multiple power options, modular capability, Metasys compatible. Remote systems monitoring, small footprint. So this is all coming together, man. It's a great opportunity to make a business decision. And Johnson is taking great measures to make it easier to do business with Johnson. They're really excited about their selection tools for distributors and contractors. How it's going to be, from customer management, order management, warranties, everything through the same common one link portal. So that's going to be an exciting thing too. So making business easier is also a very important aspect of when you determine how much time you spend and how much it costs.
And last thing on that, and I'll get off of it, but I mean, if you are a systems integrator out there right now that has a factory direct relationship and they are beating the you-know-what out of you for quotas and stuff like that, which we're running into a lot of people that are doing that, Johnson's really got more of a realistic approach. It's a kind of a kinder, gentler approach working through a distributor. You don't have to put up with quotas. You don't have to put up with the territories. You get great technical support. So, I mean, if you're one of those that are out there sort of looking at your factory direct relationship going, this really isn't working for me anymore, I would encourage you to take a look at JCI. They bring a lot to the table. But Kenny, I tell you what, we're running up against, so there are a couple more posts that we want to talk about. And I think we had a big cybersecurity meetup in Atlanta this week, and you watched it on the live stream. What was your take on that?
Well, Eric, again, it's the kind of stuff where we were following these trends, and cybersecurity was a top trend in 2015, and it's going to be a top trend in 2016. It's like Time Magazine. It keeps making the cover page, and this was extraordinary. Again, I did watch this because, we all have a relationship to cybersecurity. We all have a responsibility for cybersecurity, and it's just it's a drink the ocean type of thing. You need help. And this gentleman, Doug Wiley, the CISSP for VP Product Marketing at Next Defense, was amazing.
What will they do, Kenny? And it was Fred Gordy, by the way, that's involved in this meetup group. He was the one that brought these folks over. We were able to host the event at Stromquist and Company. And these are the cyber specialists. This is all they do. And this particular group that we met up with focused on industrial controls and how these systems got hacked into. There were two. They had one, like you mentioned, Kenny, about a German steel mill, how they hacked in and basically overrid the furnace and blew it up. And then they had an attack on a power grid, Ukrainian power grid, how they did that. So these guys sort of walk you step by step through how they actually did it and give you some ideas on how you can prevent that from happening. But what I would encourage you, Kenny and I have been talking about this for quite some time, ever since Mark Peacock and Fred Gordy sort of alerted us to what was going on with cybersecurity vis-a-vis building automation controls. And Kenny, this is not going to go away. You're going to have to get educated, or you're going to have to partner with people like Fred Gordy or these other folks that we just met. And what I would encourage you to do, watch the post and comment if you're interested in joining one of these cybersecurity meetup groups. They're all across the country. Basically just, put something in comments on that. We'll get with Fred. We'll get you connected with the right people. But it was one of the most fascinating presentations I've ever been to, Kenny. I mean, it's like, who knew? They got cool vocabulary, right? You know, it's like command and all this stuff. It's cool vocabulary. It's fascinating stuff. I don't think you'll be disappointed if you watch the video that we posted on Controltrends, and I definitely don't think you would be losing anything. As a matter of fact, I think you get way ahead of the curve if you join one of these cybersecurity meetup groups.
Oh, I sure do. And Eric, it used to be you watch the movies to get the future, what could happen or what the possible ramifications could be. There was a couple of movies that came out, White Hat and, some different movies where you had, or Black Hat. It was a movie where they showed you the stuff where it was like make believe. Well, now I realize that those movies were all based off of real events that happened. So nothing is more frightening than these modern threats to automation control systems and the result of a technical vulnerability.
Cool stuff there. But hey, man, last post, Haystack, man. We got a really cool post on that. Tell us real quickly about what's going on with the Haystack thing.
Oh, okay. We had a post come out of Tree Sullivan turned us on to this post, and we dug into it a little bit, and we find out that it was the NREL's Dylan Cutler's works to help the Navy reduce energy consumption. And again, do it real quick. It's a great video, and these guys were putting to work something that was put in play, a couple years ago called Haystack Connect. We went there and we found about the Haystack and the protocol and tagging. Well, guess what? This guy put this to work about a year ago, and he has made an incredible, presentation on how he can bring together the variety of the building's data into the software platform where users can make intelligent decisions. So he's kind of done the groundwork. He's done the proof of concept. So he works for NREL as a partnering to identify enterprise-wide buildings, cost reductions, and consumptions of energy. So it's a government program for the Navy, and it's a very interesting, impacting presentation of Project Haystack and the Haystack protocol.
Well, yeah, and thanks to Therese Sullivan for that, buildingcontext.me. Definitely check her blog out. But yeah, Kenny, I mean, Haystack, I think, is another one. We talked with Ken Sinclair earlier in the show. I mean, I think what ties us all together is the tagging. I think Haystack's right at the intersection of IoT and building automation controls. So they've got a conference coming up in Tampa. I think is it in October or is it next May? But we'll keep you posted.
May 17th. But I just want to say, too, that the NRE stands for the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, which I couldn't get initially. But so this is a prototype, proof of concept. So once they can prove that this stuff is really working and this is the best way at this time to apply the technologies that are available, that's going to be an adoption. That's going to be a wave of adoption.
If you're a controls vendor or an equipment vendor that's on the bubble about whether you should put Haystack tagging and make your controllers or equipment Haystack compliant, this should be a wake-up call for you. All right, Kenny Smyers, man, I tell you what, another great week on Control Talk Now, the Smart Buildings Videocast and Podcast. You can subscribe in iTunes. A special thanks to our guests this week, Ken Sinclair, AutomatedBuildings.com, and Jenny Stentz from JCI. So with that, Kenny Smyers, man, to our audience out there, we really appreciate you tuning in. Have a great week. Remember, be bold and stay in control.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers. All right, buddy, what we did not do was we did not do our sponsors, but you know what? This is going to be a good show.
Okay.